Hey, you guys, I'm here today in my gym clothes because I want to talk to you a little bit about motivation. And some of you may have heard of Pam Shaw, National Sales Director Pam Shaw. If not, there are some really great videos under the motivation tab here on our boards. You can get to know her. I love her because she's so real. And she's always telling us that discipline in her strength finders is super low. She is not a disciplined person. I can relate to that because out of the 34, discipline is number 24 for me. So it's like down towards the bottom. So what's so funny is we see her working out all the time, getting stuff done. She's at the top of her game in Mary Kay, and she's in great physical shape. So how is that possible? How can she not have discipline as one of her strengths and still get so much done? You guys, it's possible because she's figured out how to find her motivation. I love, I just love, well, I hope that you listened to the previous video entitled, You Will Never Lack Motivation Again. I just loved that video, you guys. I mean, think about this. Isn't that exciting? Never to lack motivation again. How exciting would that be? Because quite honestly, if you're not feeling motivated or disciplined, it's not that you can't, you absolutely can. And I'm going to share with you guys how. So most people think that motivation and discipline are things that some of us are born with and some of us are not. So not true. And most of us believe that successful people feel motivated to do what they do, and that's why they're successful. Also not true. You guys, motivation does not come first. Motivation comes when we get a hit of dopamine. So, like you talked about in that video, motivation doesn't come until you get the hit of dopamine. So let me give you a few examples. 26 months ago, I was feeling, this was in the midst of COVID, you guys. I was feeling so unmotivated in so many areas of my life. We were in the midst of COVID, the gyms were closed, we weren't able to get with people, and I was so completely unmotivated to do much of anything. Anyone ever been there? Other than sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Ugh. So deep down, I know I feel better. And most people do when we get our bodies moving, when we get a little bit of exercise. Because guess what? Exercise and moving our body gives us a dopamine hit. You know, we never feel motivated on the front end to move our bodies because it does bring us joy to sit on the couch and watch Netflix sometimes, you know? But if we do it every night, night after night, night after night, you start to lose some of that joy because you're having joy without the dopamine hit. He talks about that in the video. And I thought, oh, that's why that happens. That's why when I do things that bring me joy over and over and over again, after a while, they don't bring me joy anymore. That totally makes sense. So after a while, those things don't work anymore. And so we tend to lose our joy. So a new gym was opening up close to my house, and I met the coach and I loved her. And I thought, oh, how fun would it be to be a part of a gym and be around people again? And they were starting to lift those COVID restrictions. So I decided to go. And you guys, in the beginning, I was so excited to go. It was something new. I got to be around people. I got to move my body. It's just like when you start Mary Kay, like in the beginning, like when you make that decision, you're like super excited. And then a few days in, something happens. Like, this is what happened to me. Oh my gosh. The alarm would go off in the morning and I'd be like, ugh, it's dark out. My body hurts. I'm tired. I just want to stay in bed, right? No motivation, right? So this is the moment where most of us stop because in the moment, in our minds, staying in bed would bring us more pleasure, right? But remember, if you stay in bed day after day after day after day, it doesn't bring you pleasure and you don't get the dopamine hit. However, when we muscle through something amazing starts to happen. We start to get results. We start to get those hits of dopamine from the fact that we actually got out of bed and did our workout. The dopamine hit does not come on the way to the gym. It doesn't come in bed thinking about going to the gym. It actually comes every day. Literally, when I walk out of the gym, feeling great because I moved my body. I did what I said I was going to do. The sun is coming up. It's a beautiful day. And I started it out right. That's when the motivation comes. But then motivation leaks. And the next morning, it's not there again. So what do? Well, this is where Pam Shaw's guardrails come in. You've heard, if you've watched any of her videos, she talks a lot about setting up guardrails. These are systems that you create to get yourself to do the hard things and the scary things. And then after a while, they aren't so hard and scary anymore. And you can actually gain pleasure more from them after you set up those guardrails. So here are some of her suggestions. And she's got some great suggestions for getting out of bed and getting to the gym. So to get out of bed to go to the gym in the morning, you may want to set your alarm. You may want to put your alarm across the room so you actually have to get out of bed to shut it off. You may want to lay out your clothes and your water bottle and your keys in a place that's always the same the night before you go to bed so that you wake up, you walk across the room, you shut off your alarm, you see your gym clothes there, so you put them on. It's got to be simple, it's got to be easy, and take no brain power. This is how you create habits. Do you ever have the habit of like driving home? Like, it's like you don't even have to think about how to drive home. And so sometimes when you're not thinking, you end up in your driveway and you're like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to go do something else. I was supposed to pick up these groceries and I ended up in my driveway. How did that happen? Because it's simple and easy to get to your house. So if you can make it simple and easy in the morning to do a routine, you create this amazing habit. Do you guys get that? You may want to get a buddy who meets you at the gym so that you're accountable and you don't want to let her down, right? So all these things in place are the guardrails so that you will not veer off the road on your way to where you want to go. Don't you love that? And then this is so important. Don't think, just do. Because our minds mess us up, you guys. Our minds mess us up, our feelings mess us up. And it's not about what we're thinking or how we're feeling in the particular moment. You are not going to feel motivated. So honestly, I also can't think too far down the road, meaning I can't think how great I'm going to look and how awesome my body's going to be, toned up and physically fit. However, I can think about the feeling that I get when I walk out of the gym at the end of a workout and the sun is coming up and I started my day right. Does that make sense? So when I'm thinking about just that tangible, I did what I said I'm going to do and how I feel after my workouts, that can give me a little bit of a dopamine hit and get me there. If I think too far ahead, like 6 months down the road, you're going to lose that motivation, you guys. So you can't think too far ahead. Just think really now and in the present moment and a little farther out. I hope that makes sense. So that attitude will get you to the place of doing the things you don't want to do. And then after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, you start to see results from what you're doing. And that is super fun. So now you have motivation to do the things that got you there because you now know the results are possible. So, it's been 26 months and I go to the gym every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I do a walk on 2 of my off days. So I'm working out 6 days a week. I know that seems like a stretch for a lot of you. I didn't start out that way. I started out with just 3 days a week. Now I moved up to 6 days a week. But I got to tell you guys, at the gym the other day, I was like, it was a super hard cardio workout. And I pushed myself. And in the middle of the workout, you push yourself, you guys, you come to this place where like something kicks in. I remember training for a marathon and on those long runs, there's something that kicks in. And I happen to think that something is a dopamine hit. So I was like working out, working hard, pushing myself. And then all of a sudden I had this like, it felt so good. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I'm like working out harder than I've ever worked out before. And I feel like I have all this energy. That's the dopamine hit. I know it is. So you're going to feel that not now, but down the road. So hang with it. Basically, start and don't stop. Don't stop. And what about that reward system that he talked about? I love when he talked about that in the video. He talked about how rewards actually take away our motivation over the long run. And I happen to agree with that. I think it's why we have a whole lot of people who can't seem to get motivated right now to do anything. And many of them have, along the way just been rewarded for showing up for so long that they don't even want to show up anymore. You guys, the reward is actually in the fact that you did it. You did something. You put forth effort. You did something hard. You did something scary. The reward is the dopamine hit that you receive from that great work. That lasts longer than the little prize that you get at the end. So how does this equate to our Mary Kay business? Guys, when I was a new consultant, super excited about starting my Mary Kay, right? Until I realized I had to make phone calls and book parties. Anyone relate? It was scary and it was way out of my comfort zone and it was hard. And I'll tell you, I made it harder when I thought too much about it. So I just had to get out of my head and out of my feelings and just do it. And so I did put up those guardrails. I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing, but this is what I did. I made a long list and I kept that list going of prospects, people I could call to have a facial, book a party, all the things. So I had that long list. I also made a script ahead of time before I got on the phone. Like a lot of times we're like, okay, I know I'm going to make phone calls. And then you get in there and you're like, what am I going to say? Figure it out ahead of time. That is a guardrail. This is in the day that you had to like physically make phone calls because we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have text messaging. I know. I walked uphill both ways in snow to school, but I had the names with the telephone numbers. So I didn't even have to think about looking them up. The telephone numbers were right there. So I actually had all of those people there ready to go. That was one guardrail. I had my list, I had the phone numbers, and I had the scripts. I also set up power hours in my date book. So I made a date with myself on when I was going to make those phone calls. And I just did it without thinking about how I was feeling. Because let's face it, how many times do you actually feel like making phone calls or making booking texts? Not very often at all. So that was my second guardrail. I made a date with myself and I stuck to it. I just did it. I didn't think about it. I also told my husband, I'm going into my office to make some phone calls, or at that time it was the bedroom. I'm going into the bedroom to make some phone calls. Don't let me come out until I've made at least 5 to 10 calls. So I literally had to report to him. Like every time I went in, like I'm like, hey, I got a hold of this person, this person, this person, or I left messages with this person. So I was accountable. When I had kids, you guys, I gotta tell you, it was different. I made calls when they napped or when Terry was home to watch them. Sometimes I would hire a neighbor to come watch them or take them to a sitter. And then as they got older, I taught them the concept of the 3 Bs. And the 3 Bs are very powerful. And I'm like, mom's going to be making some phone calls today. And you can only interrupt me if you are bleeding, barking, or have a broken bone. Otherwise, you will be put in timeout. And I know I was tough on those kids, but guess what? They didn't get rewarded for just showing up. They also got disciplined. And I think that has made the biggest difference for them in the long run. So they get it, and they get it at a very early age. I can remember Taylor coming in one day. She had a little poke in her finger. She had poked herself on something outside, and there was like a little dot of blood. So I had to explain to her there's a difference between a little dot of blood and a gushing wound. So we just have to explain these things to our kids, but they really do get it. Another guardrail is you may want to buddy up. We sometimes do power hours together on our Zoom. And so if we're not doing that, find your running buddies, you guys. So I study human design, and I'm a single definition in human design. which means I actually do better alone without other people around. Other people, for me, is very distracting. However, if you're a double, a triple, or a quad split, it really means that you need other people around to like get you going. And so more people need other people around to make their booking calls because they actually can get more done. So it might be helpful to know that because you can make phone calls in a coffee shop, which is people around. You might want to gather your girlfriends together and do some power hours throughout the week. You can, jump on Zoom, do it together. But knowing yourself, your self-awareness in this area is going to be huge for you. So whatever that is, whatever that looks like, all of these guardrails are helping you to set yourself up for success so that you don't veer off into the weeds. Does that make sense? So here's what would happen. Sometimes I'd get on a roll because I'd make those phone calls and get some results and get hit up with dopamine in the moment. And then, wow, watch out. I'd be making a bigger list and making more calls. And instead of 5, I might make 10. And it became fun. And I was on a roll. Sometimes that didn't happen, but sometimes it did. And so in doing 5 calls a day, day in, day out, for months, this ended up in massive results. It created crazy momentum, you guys. We say that it really takes about 90 days to see results. What you do today is not going to pay off necessarily today or tomorrow or next week, but it will pay off in dividends in 90 days. When you give yourself 90 days to make whatever it is for you, 3 calls a day, 10 calls a week, whatever it is for you. For me, I had a big goal, 5 to 10 a day was what I was doing. And I was meeting, oh my gosh, I was meeting new people. I was holding great parties consistently. I was adding that 3 + 3 got really easy. 3 parties a week, 3 interviews a week got really easy because I created this incredible momentum with those 5 to 10 reach outs a day, 5 days a week. And then that next year, I was earning a car, so fun. I was entering director qualifications, so fun. I was building a team, I was building a unit. That's when the bigger dopamine hits come and you're on a roll. Momentum always makes us look better than we are, you guys. And momentum only comes when we do the work on the front end. Momentum doesn't come from 1 or 2 phone calls. It comes from phone calls done day in, day out, day in, day out. Text messages, I don't care. Just talking to people about what you do and inviting them in. So do I always feel like doing it now? Nope. I wish I could say you could get over it and never have to like motivate yourself to do it or just do it. But that really realistically does not happen. But I do know that the win is in putting forth the effort, not in the results. The results will come and give you motivation, but it really, if you can place your motivation on the dopamine hits that you get from the effort that you're putting in, that will change everything. It's in doing what we say we're going to do. It's in the satisfaction of a job well done. And it's knowing that the results will show up eventually when we keep doing what we say we're going to do. So I get out of my head and I just do it. And afterwards, the reward might be just that I did what I said I would do. And sometimes it's in the fact that I have a new booking or a new customer or a new team member. When you do hard things, things that you don't feel like doing, but you know will lead you to what you want, you build grit, you guys. And when you do the scary things, you will develop guts, confidence. That's where the confidence comes from. Confidence doesn't come from reading a book about whatever. Confidence comes from doing the scary things to grow that confidence muscle. Grit and guts, you guys. You can do it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.